Hello Libra and welcome back to your extended. So, um it's interesting, like in the the short amount of time, I generally just pull the cards and then just read. But in that small space of time, I was thinking about how, because we're talking about like somebody, um especially with the scrying and all of that, like somebody trying to, well, penetrate, I want to say, your mental wards. Especially because we have this Queen of Cups that's coming up with like this crown energy. And of course, with the Death card, it's again like um, guardian of your crown. So I'm talking about like, is this happening to you or are you doing it to someone else? It seems to me like you're doing this. You're trying to penetrate someone else's wards and you're trying to keep your cover from being blown. But then it's like it's happening to you. It's like you're doing it to each other. Um, I don't know exactly, like, like I feel as though you're the one who does it first and then they do it to you. Um, because then your cover is being blown. You like, so like your mental wards are like non-existent anymore. So, what I have noticed is that if someone is trying, this is just from pure like experience. If someone is trying to penetrate like my mental wards, I can feel that, well, you can feel them come, well, it's like you can feel their approach. You can feel them, um it it shows up differently for different people. So for some people, I can feel their approach in a sense, like if they have a particular, okay, for example, I have one friend who, and that's what I'm saying, this looks like Friends. It's like someone like just peering into your mind. Um, I have one friend who, when they're out, they're like the type of person that like leaves their keys on their like on the like outside, so it like jangles and stuff whenever they're walking. Uh, I know when they're looking into my mental wards or like trying to get past it, because I can hear, it's like almost like I can hear them walking towards me with their keys and all of that stuff. I can hear them. And then I'll start to feel their like the penetration of them trying to like peer, like scry. It's kind of like, this is really funny. It's kind of like when someone is trying to get information through like maybe they're a reader or something like that, because we have the scrying and everything. Um, it's like they're trying to read about you, like psychically, get some type of information psychically, and that is what's, it's like they can sense that you are looking at them. They can sense that. So for some people, it comes in through sound. Some people, actually, what will happen is I'll be in my day, and then people who look or feel similar to the one who is looking at me will actually come up in like the field. Like I can, like I'll have like a person approach me. It's like, and that's how you know that their awareness is is on you. You know what I mean? It's like it's gonna show itself. It's gonna reflect, right, in your environment. And I think that that's what this is. That's what this. I remember I was referring to this reflection here, a reflection that is happening where your cover is being blown. And that's what it's referring to. It's referring to like they have the ability to be able to look into the field and see like your reflection, and that tells them that their awareness, that your awareness is focused on them. And so then they look at you. All right. So this second half of the reading here is this is so fascinating. Because in the Ophiuchus, I get so excited. I love magic. Okay. Um, so in the Ophiuchus reading, it was like the second part of the reading was like from the cross watchers point of view. And that's what's happening here. It's like this second half of the reading is like from the cross, like a cross watcher's point of view. So we're starting off this reading with them looking at you. This is so fascinating to me. I like absolutely love it. 555, there's a shift. So we have you coming up here with the eight of swords, actually. Eight of wands, eight of swords. It doesn't matter. What's really important is the imagery. So this is you. You see how it's the just like the color palette, the feeling of it all. There's a lot of grace and beauty in this. So that's what when they look at you, they're seeing a lot of grace, beauty. They're also seeing you at your, well, I want to say this is a really vulnerable state that you're in. Especially with, this card that's coming up here. The that what is this? This is the Nine of Swords. Because she has no clothing, cover's blown, it's very vulnerable. It has a very vulnerable feeling to it. And here, what I'm seeing is that they're watching you in your most vulnerable state, um, like in your natural habitat, and you are doing an action that you feel is, well, it's very personal to you. It's very personal. So this card here, the Eight of Swords, comes through as um, setting intention, uh, like really dreaming and wishing and focusing on something. It can also come through as like prayer. And all of those activities, if you will, they're very solitary, or they can be. They, well, at least in this instance, it's you're in a solitary state of being in which you're praying, setting intentions, and daydreaming of, well, I want to say some type of transformation, because we have that death energy here, and just the way that the rest of the cards are showing up. It's like, so they're witnessing you in this state of being. So they're showing up as the judgment. Is this judgment? Yeah. They're showing up as the judgment card, and you can see that now their energy is pointed directly at you, and they're looking at you now in a, well, in your natural habitat. So you had originally set out, well, it was coming through as like a bird feeder, some type of attractant that would bring them forward so that you could observe them in their natural habitat. Um, and that's kind of like what, and then of course your cover was blown, but this is kind of like, it's like the reverse. It's the reverse of what's happening here. So, however, there's an interesting thing happening here, is that you had put out an attractant for them to come to, right? But what I'm seeing here is that actually, like, they haven't put out and attracted. It's like almost like they're only looking at you now because they know that you've looked at them. So they're looking at you in a state in which you're like wishing for some type of transformation and where in which you would blossom, because you're showing up here with the 10, it's the 10 of swords. So we've got, this is fascinating. There's a progression here from the 8 of swords to the 9 of swords, from the 8 of swords to the 9 of swords to the 10 of swords. So it's like they're watching some type of ending transformation that you're going through, which is what that death card is talking about. You see the similarities between you and the death, the arms wide open, embracing this transformation. And what I'm seeing is like you, like, this is, they've watched you, like, they're watching. Okay, I don't necessarily want to say this. It's like they're watching you fall. They're watching you fall. See how she's going down? That, and, but they're watching in, well, they're watching in judgment, in the judgment energy. This is kind of taking a turn. They're watching you in this judgment energy. Okay, what's interesting here is that they've only seen this part, but it's like they're not seeing this part. They're seeing the part where you are setting the intention to receive transformation, but they're not actually seeing the transformation. Because the 10 of swords is what's showing up as the transformation, because there's a blossoming that is happening. You see how when she falls, there's something that's coming out of the falling. The falling, and it's presenting itself as all of these, like, well, these flowers, the blossoms. The blossoms are coming out of the fall. Is okay, so I'm questioning as to, like, the fall. What is this fall? The fall is your cover being blown. The fall is like your defense mechanisms, because, okay, so the hermit here talks about like automated responses, like something that is very mechanical, that kind of, it goes, especially because there's the snake that's down there that he's holding. Snakes can talk about, like, well, they can talk about like timelines, actually, like, so there's a it's like a mechanical, like, looping energy, and it's like they're witnessing the fall of that defense mechanism, the fall of your defense mechanism. which I want to say is actually a really good thing. This is actually a really good thing. Um, because when your defenses fall, it's like then they can approach, it's like then they can approach you with these keys. So we're coming up with, what is this? The Seven of Swords and the Ace of Wands. So it's like once this fall happens, defenses are lowered. You know, in order to have like wildlife come and approach you, you have to be like the energy that you have to hold is like this open arms energy, no defenses. You have to be open, like super open for them to approach you. And that's what's happening here. It's like they're watching your defenses, your cover, your mental wards like falling down so that they can now approach you with these keys here. And the keys were in the Ophiuchus reading. Was this in the Ophiuchus reading? Or was it in the Scorpio reading? I can't remember. But this card here ended off one of the readings. It was in one of the extendeds, but it was talking about receiving the keys to understanding, the understanding, the key to understanding, because you might have experienced this, but like how you can absorb information yet not understand exactly what is being presented to you because you don't have the key to it. You need the key of understanding in order to um like receive the fullness of what's happening here. And what I'm loving here is that there's this nest. It's presenting the nest again. The nest. Hang on, I'm just navigating this a little bit. There's something interesting happening here with these keys because you're showing up. Well, you have keys of your own. So you're here with your mental wards up fully, and there's that bird there. Oh, I hope you can see it. Anyways, right here in his beak, there's these two keys. There's these two keys here. So once those wards are down, it's like all of these keys are they bringing them to you or are they just being released from you? I think that they're just watching. They're just watching you in your process. And all of these keys are like showing themselves because once you've lowered your defenses, it's like now all of these keys can appear. It's just like in this Queen of Cups, like if all of these stakes were to just, if she was to take this crown off, You know what I mean? You would see all the keys that were inside this nest. This, well, the nest of your mind with all of these swords that are being presented here. So you're kind of in this transitional state where your arms are wide open to the movement from praying or wishing for your blossoming and then it actually occurring. And it's occurring in this, especially with the Ace of Wands that's ending your reading. It's occurring in this like, um, well, this death state. This because I often see this image here as like the undead. It looks like someone who has like died, and then well, and then I'll say undead. It's like they're alive again, but you know, undead. Okay. So that's what's making me feel like they're bringing you these keys because you're in this state here, this undead state in which the things, weren't we talking about this before? We were talking about like utilizing the we were speaking of using things that have lost their life force and then restructuring them so that they can bring about life. So that's kind of like what this is referring to. It's that you're in that transition in which like your own body, your own being, your vessel is restructuring itself so that all of these blossoms can be like seen. And the blossoms are kind of relating themselves to these keys. It's like the blossoming of your understanding. And I want to say like how this works, like how the mechanism of how like if you're looking at something, like they can see you too, even if they're not quite like physically aware of it, they're psychically aware of it. So it's like you're understanding the mechanics behind viewing, especially with this Ace of Wands, because look, what she's looking at is the eye of this needle. So you're understanding the mechanics of viewing. So when you view another, that's like the whole picture of all of this is the key. The whole picture of all of this is that when you view another, they can like they can look at you because what you've created is like a psychic link. So if and that's what this card talks about as well, the Ace of Wands. It's because there's the needle, but then there's like this red thread, which speaks of connection, a connection that cannot be broken. So when you view someone psychically, remote viewing, whatever that may be, um, it creates a link in which now they can view you. Does that make sense? I'm hoping that that makes sense. So it's like they're I I'm not I'm not seeing if like they're it's almost I feel like that's just what you're learning from this situation is that when you go to look at something, it can look back at you. And that's the key to all of this is that, you know, it's kind of giving me a message of like like be careful of what you look at. Careful what you look at. Well, not necessarily be careful what you look at, but just keep that in mind that what you look at can also look at you. So make sure that your attention, especially if you're setting intentions, make sure that your a, attention is like purposely applied because that can if you have a connect it can actually shape um it can shape this transformation. It can apply like an influence, especially with the judgment card, because it can apply judgment. So it can apply an influence to this blossoming of your understanding. So I hope that this is all making sense. So that's what you're learning in this process is that when you link and you view someone, it's like it can come back because that link is there, it can come back and like create some type of influence over your over your crown actually. It's like an influence in your crown that you might be unaware of. Trying to see if there's anything else that wants to come out from this. What I do want to say is that this does not feel like something malicious or actually the word nefarious is coming up. This doesn't feel like that. This actually feels like you're looking at something that you find beautiful, right? And they find you gorgeous. You know what I'm saying? So it's actually really lovely experience, but take heed because although this it's kind of like all of this experience is like it's wonderful, it's beautiful, like that there's also another side. There's polarity in all things. So there's another side to it as well. I hope that makes sense. All right, Libra. I'm signing off. I will see you next time. Bye.